and I definitely think a craving should be satisfied, but it becomes an issue when we want more and more and more and more. Essentially, cravings are more than just a desire for food. They're tied to the brain's reward system. Dr. Regita Sinha explains that can be triggered by people, places, things associated with rewarding food, firing up like our motivation signals to our brain that then has us act upon it, and therefore we act and we continue to act until we're quote unquote satisfied. It's essential to know kind of the root cause of a craving, because oftentimes when we recognize patterns and we bring that awareness, we really begin to understand how can we position ourselves to be able to maybe be more mindful of the craving and essentially stop it before it gets to a point where we feel bad about it. I want you to think of the last time that you gave into a craving. Where were you? What was it? Who were you with? What was available? How did you feel afterwards? I think all of those questions will help you recognize that maybe I shouldn't have had 2 donuts this morning, right? So, again, I'm bringing that awareness into where are you, what situations really make you indulge in a craving, and how can you recognize those patterns to then do something differently, something that distracts your mind from food, whether it be like a show. Typically though, I would stay away from shows, but something like writing, reading nonfiction, reading fiction, painting your nails is a really good one, organizing, just figuring out a new skill. These are such great hobbies that will have your mind distracted from the cravings or from food in general, which can really be helpful when you are just trying your best not to give into that craving and go into like a rabbit hole of just like consuming food. Another one that I thought was really interesting that I had read before is this idea called urge surfing, which essentially is a mindfulness tactic, which is to embrace the thought of the craving and acknowledge the urge and acknowledge that that thought is there and just kind of sit with it, giving it the attention that it needs and allowing it to just be with you essentially. And it is said, and I've mentioned this book before, but in This Year I Will, the author describes that like oftentimes when we do have urges come up and we're trying to avoid indulging in them, it's best to just let it be for 7 minutes. Some people say 5 to 7 minutes. I say just kind of play around with the time and see if after maybe 10 minutes it's still just like forget about it. I wouldn't even try to like think about it. Just hopefully after that urge kind of surfaces on and just kind of flows throughout your mind, you can relax and just deal with whatever thing that you're doing without having to act on the urge or the craving. Another way to kind of stop indulging in as much cravings is to give yourself like a cutoff time of eating, whether it be like a more stricter intermittent fasting window, or whether it be just like, okay, from after lunch to before dinner, I'm not gonna think about food and I'm just gonna focus on my dinner and not indulge in any cravings that came up. So just kind of creating yourself rules around food is a really big one, and just knowing that everything is flexible. All of this is just tools to essentially get you thinking of what will work best for you. And oftentimes I find myself with some tool that may not work, and that's okay. At least you tried it and you know that that doesn't work for you, and then you can move on to the next thing. Aside from that, just know that this is a long term journey, okay? This is not a quick fix. This is just being more mindful of the food that you're consuming and just finding better ways to be happier and more content with the decisions that you make. And that's essentially what this video is about, is just finding peace with food and finding peace with allowing yourself to have the craving, but also knowing kind of when to stop. So I hope you have a really good day, and I'll catch you in the next one.